Welcome, everyone. My name is Dr. Elias Markou. I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to kind of join the group. Welcome. Hello, everyone. This is going to be amazing, amazing virtual experience. I promise you, if you've never been on Zoom with me, you're going to enjoy the next hour. It's going to be jam-packed full of information. Before I want to get started, I just wanted to kind of find out that you can hear my audio in the little chat box. Can you just send me a message? Can hear you, can hear you. Yes, excellent. Good, good. Good, that's wonderful. Thank you, everyone, thank you. See, that was a little test. That was a test to make sure you guys are all on, and you're all on. Thank you very much. Loud and clear. I see Donna, I see Dawn, I see Barb, I see Joe, I see Jane, Carrie. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you today. We are going to have an exciting 1 hour lecture on a topic I really learned a lot about over the years, and I'm going to share all of my wealth, all of my knowledge. I hope you guys get good information out of this as we move forward. It's important to know that, you know, this is your time. I hope, you know, if you have a question, please, in the question and answer section, just write it in there. Near the end, we're going to kind of spend a little bit of time just kind of looking at some questions. As I go on, I probably won't look at the chat. The chat's going to be kind of rolling. You're welcome to share information there with the group. I mean, this is the whole idea of a Zoom group session. You're all here to help each other and enjoy the hour. My name is Dr. Elias Markou. I was a former firefighter. I took my passion for patient care and became a licensed naturopathic doctor. Currently, I'm a naturopathic doctor in Ontario, licensed in Ontario. I think I've done almost 100,000 patient visits over the last 17 years. And it's my pleasure to be here to share all of my wisdom, all of my information as we go through understanding magnesium. Now, I practice in a multidisciplinary clinic. I have a bunch of doctors that work in my practice. I see a wide range of patient conditions, from cancer to autoimmune to hormone. So we're going to touch a little bit on all these conditions as we move forward through the presentation. And again, you know, share your questions in the question and answer box, and we'll try to get to as many as we can at the end of this conversation. So, like I said, Q&A box. We'll look at the questions, but you know, for many of you, I just want to get your mind going. Many of you have thought about magnesium, and you often wonder, does magnesium, you know, help me with my sleep? Or how do I know that I'm magnesium deficient? And we can answer that question for you today. Some of you might want to know, does magnesium help with my hormones? I'm female, does it help me with my hormones? Some males may want to know, does magnesium help me with my hormones? Many of you have heard that magnesium can help with constipation, and we'll answer that question in our presentation today. And finally, who needs magnesium the most? We're going to dive into that answer today also. So, jam-packed hour of a lot of information for you. I'm excited to get started. And you know, we always have to thank the people who have brought this together. We want to thank the sponsor, Healthy Planet, who has collected all of you here tonight to enjoy this presentation, and also CamPrev, who today will probably give out a package similar to what you see on the screen to one lucky winner. And I think it's going to be done at the end of our event. So today we're looking at magnificent magnesium. Magnesium is so important in our health. And I'm going to tell you a little story. I called the presentation, Let Magnesium Magnify Your Mojo. So let magnesium help you with your energy, help you with your vitality, help you with your cell health, help you with all of that's connected in your body. So we're going to deep dive into magnesium only magnesium. We're not going to look at anything else. We're just going to talk about the magnesium and how important it is for our body. So everyone has a story, and I'd like to share my story. So for many of you, like I said earlier in the introduction, I was a firefighter. I was a firefighter for 7 years for the Holland Hills Fire Department. And in that process, I experienced adrenal fatigue. Many of you might know about adrenal fatigue if you have it out there. But adrenal fatigue basically is not treating your body well and being in many stressful situations. Over time, your adrenal glands lose its function. So, you know, drinking lots of coffee. Many of you probably know that coffee depletes your magnesium. Drinking alcohol and being rough with my body, late nights, early mornings, high stress situations. And over time, that can only help you so long. And eventually you will deplete your vitamins, your minerals, your nutrients, and stress is the biggest thing. Many of us are currently going through a lot of stress as we're dealing with, you know, finances, COVID, school. Many of you are moms who are working with your kids at home, who are working at home, dads who are working at home, managing your kids. It's a difficult world out there that we're experiencing. So many of you might already be taxing your adrenal glands. Well, what ended up happening was I quickly learned that I needed to take care of my adrenal glands. So I began the process of studying what I needed to kind of fix my adrenals as we move forward. I was fatigued. I was exhausted. I couldn't recover. I'd go to the gym thinking, hey, you know, this is the best way to like get me back into my energy levels. And I just couldn't do it. So then I eventually turned to my own research, like you guys do. You get online, you do research. But I stumbled onto this wonderful book. And I'm going to share my aha moment. As I was going through this book, and many of you may have it, Adrenal Fatigue by Dr. James Wilson. He's one of the leading experts in adrenal fatigue. As I was going through the book, and I marked it here, I came to this one sentence that just was my aha moment and just blew my mind away. And it goes like this. It's on page 200. They talk about minerals. And the first one they go into is magnesium. And the sentence goes like this. Magnesium acts like a spark plug for your adrenals and for the energy portion of every cell in your body. If you want me, I'll read it again. Magnesium acts like a spark plug for your adrenals and for the energy portions of every cell in your body. Well, when I read that, that was my aha moment. That was the moment where I said, in order for me to heal my adrenal situation, I needed to put magnesium had to be a critical component. So that being said, I started to kind of find the right magnesium levels for me. And we're going to deep dive into this subject because most health professionals do know that magnesium is important, but they don't stress it. I could tell you right now, every patient who sits in, and I'm in my office right now, you can see my pictures in the back. I'm on my desk. My desk is right here. I have a box in front of me, and then in this corner is where the patient will sit while we do my consultation. Now, what ends up happening is every health professional understands that magnesium is important, but they don't really implement it early on. The first thing I would do with a patient is put them on the right magnesium. And as we move forward, we understand that, you know, magnesium is super critical. It is the fourth most abundant mineral in the body. And if you look on your screen, I've actually put it in order. Calcium is number 1. Sodium is number 2. Potassium is number 3. And magnesium is number 4. So it's the fourth most abundant. And what tends to happen in the body is many of us get calcium very easy. Our diets are filled with calcium. We're eating, you know, things like dairy-based products have a lot of fortified calcium in them. A lot of the up-and-coming, you know, alternative milks have calcium in them also. So calcium is abundant. It's everywhere. And what tends to happen is we have lots of calcium, but we don't have the right ratio of magnesium. And a lot of us tend to be deficient in magnesium. And virtually every single chemical reaction in the body uses some type of magnesium to react. And So essentially, when a patient comes into my patient visit, what I normally do is I will put them right on magnesium right away. It's the first thing I do. And you don't have to dose it high. The secret, I think, is taking it consistently. So taking it daily is what's most important. And one of the things I do with my patients is I take them through different kinds of magnesium. I don't often like them to be on, this is the magnesium you're going to be on, and you're going to be on it for the rest of your life, and see you later. I actually like to challenge their magnesium system. So we're going to get into the many kinds of magnesiums that are out there, and it's mind-boggling. And hopefully today I can make some sense out of, you know, which magnesium is best for you. And then I recommend you sit down with your healthcare professional, your medical doctor, your naturopathic doctor, your nutritionist, whoever takes care of you, and have that conversation. And only when they know your situation can they decide which magnesium is best for you. So these are pretty much the top 5 function of magnesium. Now there's hundreds of more, but you know, I don't want to be here over and over just telling you kind of the function of magnesium. What I want to do is I just want to give you kind of an overview. We know that magnesium helps with muscle and nerve function. We know that. And I'm going to give you a little anecdotal story here. Magnesium, how many of you have had, when you were younger, and I remember this vividly, when you had insomnia and your mom's downstairs, it's 11 o'clock, she's watching TV, and you come down all blurry-eyed and, Mom, I can't sleep. What was the first thing your mother did? She went and she grabbed milk, poured it in a pot and warmed it up. And she came over and put it in front of you and you start to drink it. And all of a sudden you got sleepy and you go to bed. Did you ever wonder what that function of milk and what milk did for you? Essentially, the magnesium in the milk relaxed your muscles, relaxed your nervous system, and helped you get to bed. It's as simple as that. Now, many of you, if you're dairy sensitive, you probably don't want to use milk. Many of you probably, before you go to bed, grab a magnesium supplement, take it, consume it, and then it probably helps you go to bed and go into a deep sleep, a good night's sleep, and then eventually, as you wake up on the other end, you're refreshed. So magnesium helps relax the muscles and help with nerve function. Like, that's the biggest thing it does. Now, we also know that magnesium keeps your immune system healthy. And in this day and age where we're all worried about the immune system, we want to make sure that we have a good source of magnesium in our dietary plan. Finally, many of you who are having cardiovascular conditions like, arrhythmias, blood pressure issues, can actually see some benefit from having magnesium in your diet or having magnesium in your protocol. So we know that the heart depends on it. And we know, if you know the science of the heart, it needs potassium, it needs sodium, and it needs magnesium. It is a muscle, smooth muscle. Magnesium is important to build bones. We often forget that when we're building our bones, we also need magnesium. A lot of us think, oh, it's just calcium that we need. And that's a myth. And that's a myth that we've demystified over the years. Your doctor will put you on magnesium, on calcium, but you also need a good ratio of magnesium. So some of you might know kind of statistics like, oh, you need to have a 2-to-1 ratio of calcium to magnesium, or you need to have a 1-to-1 ratio of calcium and magnesium. Those are just what the ratio of the milligrams of magnesium in each supplement. And finally, there are studies that show that magnesium does lower cortisol. Like I showed you in my story as a firefighter, when I dealt with adrenal fatigue, one of the first minerals I put in was magnesium. And you also need the B vitamins, which, like, when you talk about stress, a lot of people say, oh, you need your C and your Bs. 100% you need those. And there's a lot of research shows that those are super important vitamins. But you need your minerals, and minerals are critically important because they run a lot of the chemical reactions in cellular function, and they're super important. So magnesium has a critical function in the body, and it pretty much runs thousands of chemical reactions throughout the body. So it's important to have it in there. And like I said, when I began my conversation, It's about being consistent with your magnesium and often maybe even shifting your magnesium. So we do know that there's a magnesium cortisol connection. We know stress is a proven factor in a long list of chronic conditions. When you're stressed, you're going to have autoimmune issues. When you're stressed, you're going to have inflammation. When you're stressed, you're going to have depression, anxiety, all sorts of chronic conditions are connected to stress. And, you know, we can do a talk on just stress here. I could spend hours and hours, and everybody here will agree, who's participating in this webinar, will agree that stress leads to like conditions. And what we want to do is we want to figure out, okay, how do we mitigate the stress? Listen, we can't get rid of it, but how do we manage it and how do we reduce it? Those are the key things that we look at. So we know, and research has showed, that stress and cortisol has a magnesium connection. And when you're deficient, your stress levels and how you respond to stress is very high. For those who have high magnesium, they tend to be able to deal with stress better. Two ways. It helps your nervous system work well. It helps your neurotransmitter system work well. It helps your hormonal system balance itself out. And your muscle and skeletal system work well with magnesium. So we know that there's a connection. We want to make sure that you're taking a lot of it. Now, there is risks. There is risks of magnesium deficiency. There are people in our population that for sure should be on a magnesium supplementation because of the type of condition that they have. People with gastrointestinal disease should be on a magnesium. And as a matter of fact, what we do here at our clinic is if we have a gastrointestinal situation like leaky gut, Crohn's, colitis, IBD, IBS, if we have any kind of those inflammatory conditions, we might even have our patient come in and do an IV with magnesium in it. And we use magnesium chloride, and we use magnesium sulphate, and we use magnesium citrate. So we use different forms of magnesium to help patients absorb and up. And with an IV, you bypass the oral, which, like if you ate a magnesium capsule, it would go into your mouth, it would go into your gut, your stomach acid would dissolve it and help absorb it, then it'd go into your liver would process it, and then it'd be released into your system. So gastrointestinal patients have a high risk of deficiency of magnesium. Those are important patients that we get them on some type of magnesium formulation. And one of the questions that showed up here, and I want to answer this too, is when you have inflammation in your gut, you will absorb magnesium, but small amounts. So that's why we have to look at other ways to get the magnesium into the system. People with type 2 diabetes require lots of magnesium. Alcohol dependent, and even you can go as far as coffee dependent patients will be magnesium deficient because these ingredients are diuretics. So what ends up happening is your body will automatically increase your frequency of urination. And as you urinate, you're dumping necessary magnesium that your body needs. And finally, older patients. Older patients really require high levels of magnesium because there is a lot of deficiency going on. And down at the bottom was the study that I used to kind of collect this information. Now, we also know that magnesium does interact with certain drugs. And the list of the drugs are there. There are 4 of them that came up in my research. The biggest one is Osteo Meds. The irony of Osteo Meds is a lot of patients will take Osteo Meds to build bone. And what ends up happening is these same meds that are used to build bone can have issues with depleting your magnesium. So essentially, you want to take these meds 2 hours apart. So you can take your Osteo Meds, and then 2 hours later, you'll take your magnesium, your calcium, and all your other bone building minerals. Antibiotics, similarly, you got to separate antibiotics from magnesium by about a 2-hour gap. And we know that antibiotics will deplete your magnesium. There's studies after studies that show it. And that's why, doctors don't want to have patients on antibiotics forever and ever for a lot of different reasons. But also another reason is the depletion of key minerals and nutrients in the body. Diuretics, you could take a diuretic, but you got to take it away from. You could take magnesium with a diuretic, but you got to take them separately. So diuretics are just for sure. I mean, they're going to deplete your magnesium levels in the body. So there is an interaction between magnesium and diuretic. So you want to separate them apart. And a final drug interaction between magnesium is a proton pump inhibitor. Many of you who are having digestive issues are on a PPI. Well, if you take a PPI with magnesium, you're going to interact with the drug. So what you want to do is you want to take them separately. And what's interesting is people on PPI need more magnesium because they do deplete their magnesium levels in the body. So we know that there's interactions with medication. And the rule of thumb with medication is, don't take your vitamins with your meds together. Separate them at least by a 2-hour span. Some drugs require 4 hours. Ask your doctor with your meds what's important. Now, there are side effects with magnesium. Many of you, if I had a quick roll call, who's ever had side effects with magnesium, you would automatically say, I do. Some of you have had diarrhea when you've increased your magnesium levels. And it's okay to test, what levels of magnesium you can. I remember, and this is an anecdotal story, I had a patient who had terrible diarrhea, and terrible constipation. And so I said to her, hey, start off with 1 cap and then of magnesium, take a second one, take a third one, and see when the stool softens up. And it took this patient 6 caps of magnesium to soften up the stool. So, some of you may need 6, some of you with 1 cap are running to the bathroom. Now, the other thing is, and I'm going to teach you as we go into the presentation here, there are certain magnesiums that will definitely affect your bowels, and then there are certain magnesiums that don't. So it's key to remember as we kind of dive into the types of magnesium that we're going to talk about now, you need to know what is best for you and what your needs are, okay? So magnesium can give you gas. I've had people say, I took 1 capsule and my stomach started to rumble. So there's your gas. Some of people, they rumble, their digestive system rumbles so much that now they have diarrhea. And a common one is cramping. Patients will have a magnesium and they will be doubled over cramp. So what I tend to say is, if you can, try to take your magnesium, and you can take it on an empty stomach. Some of you can and have a strong digestive system that you can put a magnesium in and it's perfectly fine. Like that's me. At 10 o'clock tonight, when I'm finished this webinar, I'm gonna go home and I got 2 caps of magnesium on my kitchen table that I'm gonna take with water and I go to bed. So some can do that, and some, that would cause them tremendous amount of cramping. Like patients with IBS, IBD, it might cause cramping. So we need to figure out which magnesium, and even the method of delivery. Maybe for IBS and IBD patients, Crohn's and colitis, you can't take it orally. So now we have to look at possibly an IV or another form of magnesium. So those are the side effects with magnesium. And, I'm sure in the chat, I could say, hey, who's had side effects of magnesium? And you've all probably experienced one side effect or another. Now, the question I always get before I even put patients on supplementation is, where can I find magnesium in foods? And great question. With the internet, I did this, and you could do it yourself. You could quickly just get online, magnesium, best source of magnesium foods, and find a great list bigger than the one I have on my computer here to show you, where you find magnesium in food. So, have a look with me. Pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, almonds, spinach, cashews, peanuts, cereals. Cereals have a lot of magnesium that is fortified. So cereals get a lot of the minerals in cereals are fortified. And same with soy milk. Like you'll get high levels of magnesium from soy, but they're also fortified. Black beans, edamame. So the list goes on. And this was just a short list I quickly kind of put together for us to just quickly see. Because the question I always get is, you know what, I don't want to start a supplement right now. What kind of foods can I start off with? And I actually like that. I want patients to have foods that are rich in magnesium, and if they can, supplementation, because we know our soils are depleted. Where's magnesium? It's a mineral. It comes into root-based vegetables in through the plant, and essentially that's kind of like how the magnesium gets into the plant, and then you consume it. So you want to have foods and a wide array of foods that give you magnesium, but then also you may need to supplement. As good as the farming techniques think they are, there's a lot of deficiency in food. So why more magnesium is not always right, and this is where we're going to start teaching you guys a little bit of what's happening. There are many magnesium supplements. There's magnesium in vitamins. There's magnesium fortified in food. There's foods that have magnesium naturally. So magnesium is found everywhere. We know that farming soils are depleted. So, and we know that, almost 80% of the population has some form of magnesium deficiency. So we know that these individuals, 80% of the population need magnesium. The food that we're eating does not have good source of magnesium, but we do have some foods that have magnesium in them, but we also need to supplement and complement. So essentially, what we want to do is we want to find the right magnesium for the right problem. And that's where you sit down with your medical doctor, with your naturopathic doctor, with your nutritionist, and you say, these are my concerns. And that's where your professional will be like, we need this magnesium. Oh, we need this magnesium. And I'm going to start breaking down the differences of the magnesiums that are out there. Now, I just saw a question come up. How do we measure magnesium in blood? Now, it's interesting. When you measure magnesium, like let's say you asked your doctor to do a magnesium, a folic acid test, a calcium test, a potassium test, a chloride test, and a potassium test. So you get him to check it all off, and then he gets your blood drawn, and you go back, and he says, oh, your levels are all normal. See you later. You don't need any supplementation. Now, what ends up happening there is your doctor just read the blood report that showed the magnesium levels in a homeostatic situation. So your body's intelligent. When the magnesium goes down, it'll bring it back into the range. So your blood readings are just within the range. For those numbers to be dramatically high and out of balance, you need to be very sick. Like someone who has cancer, someone who has a renal failure, you need to be very sick. And all of a sudden, those numbers will be out of range and really dramatic. So healthy individuals, when they get their blood tested, it'll be normal. It'll show you normal. But there is an underlying deficiency. Now, there are other tests that are done. There's a test out of the States called the SpectraCell test. There's a test out of the States called the organic acids test. And these tests look at the levels of your minerals in your body and how, if you're deficient and if you're sufficient. So you need to ask your healthcare professional to do other testing that's key for measuring magnesium in the body. Now, there are a lot of different forms of magnesium. There's tablets, there's capsules, which are powders, there are liquids, and there are IVs, like vitamins that are put through an intravenous process. So there are many different forms. You have to sit down with your healthcare provider and figure out which is best for you and the best way to get the magnesium into your system. So let's match the right magnesium with the right problem. Let's get into dissecting the top 5 magnesiums that are found on the market and can be purchased. Okay. So the first one is any type of magnesium chelate. So magnesium chelate basically means your magnesium has some type of protein molecule that's bound to it. Now, most chelate formulations use a protein molecule, and the body absorbs amino acids very easy when something's bound to it. So in the digestive system, like glycine is a common amino acid that's bound to magnesium. So you can have magnesium glycine or magnesium bisglycinate, which is 2 glycine molecules, which we'll talk a little bit later. And what we know is the amino acids piggyback the magnesium on the back and are well absorbed through the intestinal wall. So by doing that, we know that magnesium and a chelate is a good way to get your magnesium into your body. Okay, so any type of magnesium chelate formula on the market is a great way to get magnesium in. Okay, and essentially, magnesium chelate is found to be important in a few systems. I often use it when I want to muscle build. I often use it when I have a patient who is looking for muscle recovery. So we have the Mississauga Marathon that runs through Mississauga here. And a few days before the marathon, we have patients that come in and get intravenous vitamin bags with magnesium in them. And they'll buy up all of our magnesium. They'll take it a day before, they'll take it during the game race day, and then they take it days after. And what they find is runners and marathoners and short marathon runners get quick muscle recovery when you're taking a chelated form of magnesium, calcium, or any type of mineral. Great for muscle recovery. Magnesium is often used in the nervous system to relax it. We like magnesium. So magnesium bound to a chelate, a glycine, it then gets absorbed through the gut. It then gets cleaved and released. Magnesium then goes, does its thing, and glycine goes, does its thing. Excellent for sleep, because we know magnesium and glycine in combo help with sleep, and those two combinations help with neurotransmitters. So there are great, chelates are a great way to get magnesium into the body. Now, the second form of magnesium that we're going to talk here is magnesium citrate. Now, before I go on, I've seen a couple of questions kind of scroll through here that ask for how much, how much, how much. Now, I just want to answer this question quickly, and then we're going to kind of move on. Every one of you is different, and you all have different needs, and you all have different demands. I'm not going to tell you how much to take. Your healthcare professional, your nutritionist, or maybe even going back to Healthy Planet and sitting down with their representatives, the nutritionists who are on the floor, they can help you choose the right magnesium for you. There's different dosages. Some of you need 200, some of you need 1200, and some of you might need magnesium citrate, and some of you might need bisglycinate. So sitting down with a professional to really determine which magnesium is best for you is the best advice I could give you. I'm not going to give you a dose. So I hope that I answered that question. I've seen it scrolled up a number of times. So I hope that gives you peace of mind that just have somebody assess you, okay? And if you like what you're hearing here and you like my energy, you're welcome to contact me, and we can even look at taking care of you, okay? Now, back to where I was going, magnesium citrate. Here are some quick facts about magnesium citrate. Magnesium citrate is a salt. So quickly, there are two forms of magnesium. There's salt magnesium and there's amino acid or protein magnesium. When you look at the research, the protein magnesiums are a little bit better absorbed. Salt magnesiums have a different purpose in the body. So, the citrate is citric acid. They take a magnesium molecule and they take a citric acid molecule, they put them together, and you have a 1-to-1 ratio. And now what ends up happening is, what's unique about citric acid is it acts as a laxative. So let's say you went into the health food store and you're like, okay, I need a magnesium, and they hand you a magnesium with citrate in it. Many of you are probably going to be on the toilet the next morning if you take too much of it or some of it, in some way. So it acts like a laxative, and it helps to completely empty the bowel. So a lot of people You need to be careful when you're choosing your magnesium. You have to understand what it is that you need. So remember, so I've taught you a piece of information. Magnesium comes in either a salt is connected to it or an amino acid is connected to it, okay? Now there's some magnesiums that are blends. Read your labels. There are magnesiums that are blends. So they have a bit of citrate, a bit of carbonate, and a bit of bisglycinate, or citrate, carbonate, malate. So pay attention to those things. Those things are key and critical to you getting better. Now, what is magnesium citrate good for? Magnesium citrate is good for constipation, stool softening, reducing menstrual cramping and symptoms, and even for kidney function. So you can see that, you know, this particular magnesium might not be good for me. And citrate, I don't usually take because I'm regular. I don't need any type of aid. So I will then gravitate more to a chelate or a glycinate formulation of magnesium. So I hope you're getting kind of like the little kind of tutorial I'm giving you here with magnesium. So the next one is called magnesium bisglycinate. This is probably the most popular magnesium many of you are taking. Now the magnesium bisglycinate is, bis means two, glycinate means glycine. So there's two glycine molecules bound to a magnesium. And what's interesting, it's an amino acid. What do we say about amino acid? When you absorb the amino acid, it gets absorbed in your gut better. So what tends to happen with a bisglycinate, your levels of magnesium are slightly higher because more of it gets into your blood. So this tends to be the one a lot of people favor to get and help them. So we know that, you know, the magnesium and the glycine work well in neurotransmitters. So conversion of GABA in your brain. So you know your neurotransmitters, you have 4 of them: serotonin, GABA, acetylcholine, and dopamine. Now, the GABA needs magnesium and glycine to help. So many of you, when you've started taking bisglycinate, you might start feeling happy and your anxiety is gone. So this is more of what this magnesium has an affinity to. You'll see anxiety, insomnia, chronic stress. So we talked about, you know, a lot of the brain and the neurotransmitters require magnesium. Now there's other things it requires, but magnesium is big, glycine is big. So we need to have this form of a magnesium for these conditions. I stumbled onto some really cool research, and we talked about the stress research, but the inflammatory connection between magnesium. And I thought it was fascinating. I never really knew about it, but now it makes sense as I start to think about the mechanism of magnesium. It can reduce inflammation. When you control cortisol, inflammation goes down. So there is a great connection between magnesium and inflammation. And finally, we know that all magnesiums help with hormone rebalancing in men and in women. We often forget that, you know, we'll give women the magnesium, they need it, they require it, but men actually benefit from magnesium for hormone rebalancing. It's often used because men still have estrogen, men have testosterone, DHEA, and cortisol. So we do need these molecules to balance out your hormones. The next magnesium is called the malate. Now that's malic acid. So we talked about the salts that are used in magnesium. So this is a salt kind of magnesium. But what's interesting with malic acid is thought to be the most absorbable magnesium in your digestive tract. And some people even report that this is gentle. I often use magnesium malate with patients who have chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, the muscle pains, muscle aches. This is the type of patient that I will use magnesium malate on, because we know that it helps like a muscle-based migraine, magnesium malate. And what's interesting is you can have high dosages of magnesium when you use the malate as opposed to the other ones. Chronic fatigue, depression, mood, There's a bit of research that shows that even blood sugar is balanced out with magnesium malate, and even exercise performance. Like if you are active in the gym and you're a runner and you move weights, you should be on magnesium malate daily to help yourself with it. And some of you might decide to divide it up, a capsule in the morning, a capsule at lunch, and a capsule at bedtime. Or some of you might decide to take all of it at bedtime. So dividing it up is also another strategy for you. And again, that's what your healthcare practitioner will help you out with. Magnesium malate. Now, this is our last one that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to get into the last bit of our conversation. There's also magnesium aspartate and orotate. These guys are aspartic acid and orotic acid. Now, what ends up happening is there's a lot of research that's coming out on this, but the research is very, it's up in the air. Excuse me. A lot of people think that this is cutting edge magnesium. What I find is it isn't the best to increase your magnesium level. So it's not the best to get more magnesium in. As a matter of fact, the orotic acid and the aspartic acid is hard in the digestive system to absorb. Yet when you purchase an aspartate and an orotate magnesium, it is 5 to 9 times more expensive than all the other forms of magnesium. So you really have to kind of assess if this is really what you need. This is the type of patient I would use this formulation with. Anybody who needs to do brain and muscle connecting, cardiovascular rhythm situations, because they're acid-base balancing in the body. Many of the companies who do use orotate, when you look at their research, they say that it helps elevate mood in the brain. So patients who have depression, patients who have anxiety, those are the kind of patients who would benefit from orotate. And it's worth trying. If you tried all the other magnesium and nothing is connected with you, then it's worth finding a magnesium orotate formulation and see if it helps you elevate your mood and change your mood. Other individuals who use it are people with metabolism of micronutrient issues. Like if you're malnutrition, you want to try a different magnesium, this might be the one. I have patients who are athletes, recovering, endurance, cardioprotective, and neurotransmitter. So this is another form you could find on the market. If you, now that I've showed it to you, as you kind of peruse, go through the aisles of your favorite health food store, you're going to find, oh, this is an orotate. I've never seen this before. Because quite often, the most popular magnesium is the bisglycinate. Quickly second is the citrates. You know, many of you now have learned about the chelates, but now you're going to probably see, oh, this is an orotate. So you might want to use it to try something different. Like I say, probably the one I use this the most with is elevating mood and changing depression in patients. The research tends to say that this has a greater affinity for the brain. The magnesium market is complex, okay? Look how many other forms I didn't even go through. We're almost close to our time where we're gonna start getting into kind of the questions. And there's a lot of questions. Everybody's been kind of sending questions at a fierce pace. I guess this topic is a cool topic, excellent topic. But look at the magnesium forms that are available. There's magnesium hydroxide, excuse me, magnesium carbonate. That's often, so when you look at the label, look at the back. Health Canada requires all companies have to say what the makeup is. So you'll find some companies are using carbonate, malate, glycinate. Some companies are using oxide, carbonate, malate. The cheaper the magnesium, the lower the cost of the magnesium products. So carbonate and oxide, these are very cheap forms of magnesium. So these are often used as fillers in a lot of these. But what's interesting with carbonate and oxide, these tend to have not diuretic, they tend to create loose stool and cramping and gases in the gut. So pay attention to what forms of magnesium you're purchasing. There's sulfate. We tend to use sulfate in IVs. There's chloride. We tend to use chloride in IVs. There's also this new and up and coming magnesium called threonate. It's been around, but it's starting to have a bit of a resurgence. And the threonate is often used for sleep. It's a great sleep aid. There's a number of companies that use it as a powder. You put it in some water, you drink it, and it's a great sleep aid. Gluconate is another common one that I've seen on labels when you're purchasing magnesium. You'll see a combo of gluconate, carbonate, malate. Now, malate's great because you can do high dosages. You can do the gluconate. Gluconate's a good amino acid. And then it's the carbonate, which is a bit more of a harder magnesium. There's lactate. Many of you have had magnesium lactate and you never knew it, but it helps with constipation. There's taurate and oxide. Oxide is often found in the lower brands of magnesium, and it can help you with purging, like getting stuff out of you. So you could see the market of magnesium is pretty dynamic. Knowing your magnesium, I'm happy you guys all hung out with me today. Knowing your magnesiums and what you're going to start looking for is the first step to getting the right stuff for you. Remember, it's not how much, it's the quality and the right magnesium that's best for you. So sleep is the most underrated exercise we do. Many of us are sleep deprived. So I'm a big proponent. I think sleep is huge. I track my sleep. I use my watch to track my sleep. I record what I take before bedtime, and I see what works on a given night. So pay attention to how your sleep is. And magnesium has often been used to help you go to sleep. The journal Nutrients in 2018, there was a study that showed by increasing magnesium, we saw sleep performance in adults become better. So most magnesium help reduce insomnia in patients. Now, quite often patients will start the magnesium and they'll say to me, oh, I've been doing it for 3 nights and I don't see any difference. Yeah, you won't see any difference because think of your body as a bucket. You just put a small amount into your bucket. Your bucket needs to be full completely in order for you to start seeing the effects of magnesium. So 1 night on magnesium will not correct your insomnia or won't help you with your stress. You want to make sure that you're on magnesium pretty consistently. On average, I see patients start seeing the results of magnesium 3 months into the magnesium use. Good results. So you have to be consistent with it. Whether you take it at bedtime, throughout your day, whatever form you're taking, you have to be consistent with your magnesium. So hopefully that helps you in your answering your sleep. And some of you may even be like, oh my God, I had magnesium yesterday and I had a great sleep. I'm gonna try it tomorrow night and I'm probably gonna get another good sleep. So magnesium is key to help you with sleep performance and insomnia. How do we build our best stress-free life? So this is one of my missions. I think stress is a killer. I think stress is a silent factor in a lot of our well-being, and it undermines a lot of us in the direction we're going. We spend a lot of money on supplements, but we have to start addressing the stress. The supplements can alleviate some of that stress, but what we want to do is we want to figure out other strategies. So how do we build our best stress-free life? Well, today, I shared with you that magnesium is one of those key things that work really well with your health. So put it in there. sit down with a naturopath, a medical doctor, a nutritionist, and even someone at the health food store and figure out which one's best for you and get started on it. And you'll find that, this is one of those supplements. If I was stuck on a deserted island and God said to me, pick 3 things you're going to need, 3 vitamins you're going to need, magnesium would definitely be one of them. And many of you are going to say, well, what are the other 2? I'll say that for another conversation at another time as a cliffhanger. So I hope you guys got a good sense of what the magnesium world looks like. It can be daunting, it can be scary, but I hope I made some of it clear for you to kind of navigate a bit more comfortably as you move forward. What I want to do now is I want to answer some of your questions. So on my end, I'm going to open up all these questions, and I'm going to start kind of going through all this. Athena, hello, how are you? Nice to see you. Welcome. I'm glad you're here today with us. So this is from this is Karen. Does magnesium need to be taken with calcium? No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be taken with calcium. There are a lot of super magnesium products that are out there that you just take it by itself. And it will complement, calcium. But for some of you, if you don't want to take hundreds and hundreds of capsules, then you might find a supplement that has magnesium and calcium all put into one. That might help you out. Hopefully that answers your question, Karen. Juanita, can you talk a bit about acid reflux and arthritis? I'm going to try to understand your question, but with acid reflux, sometimes magnesium-based products can reduce acid reflux in the body. And acid reflux often is a imbalance of the acid in your gut. And quite often, the medical community will say acid reflux is high acid, you need to suppress it. More the natural holistic people say it's low acid affecting the body. So if you have acid issues, you're probably going to have absorption issues. And chances are your acid issues are because of low stomach acid. Arthritis and how it's connected, if you have acid reflux, you'll probably have inflammation. And inflammation in your gut can translate in inflammation in your joints. Hope that answers your question. Answered live. Okay, let's keep on going here. Next one, Ashley, could you speak a little bit about magnesium to relieve symptoms of anxiety, the mechanism in the brain? So like I said to you, when you look at anxiety is usually probably connected to GABA deficiency, the first reason. And GABA deficiency, when you have the precursors to make GABA, in the middle there, so this molecule becomes GABA, in the middle there, you have magnesium. And magnesium is often used, and glycine. Glycine is one of the molecules. So magnesium and glycine are needed to move into making GABA. And once you have better GABA, your anxiety goes down. When you have low GABA, your anxiety goes up. That's the connection. Hope that answers your question, Ashley. Okay, let's move on. Glycine versus bisglycinate. I've already answered that for you, JM. Glycine is one molecule of glycine. Bisglycinate is 2 molecules. Bis is the Greek word, or bi is the Greek word for 2. So I hope that answers your question there. Why does magnesium cause my mouth to feel dry? That's a good question, Christine. I think it's possible the form of magnesium you're using might be drying. It could also be that, you need to have, like, how much water you're drinking. If you're not drinking enough water, ratios of minerals to water can also cause dry mouth. So maybe that's where I would start to look. And is the magnesium you're eating oral, or is it a capsule that goes in and then it causes dry mouth? So there could be a lot of different factors there. If you're taking it orally, what it does is magnesium attracts water. That's what it actually does in your gut. So when it sits in your gut, it actually attracts water, softens your stool, and then you move a good stool. So in your mouth, if you're doing like a liquid magnesium, it can actually attract the water molecules out and dry your mouth. That's the answer. Hope that answers your question. Irini, it was recommended for my husband who gets a lot of headache. Can you speak about this? Yes. So if your husband, Irini, has a headache that is muscle related, the magnesium will help him. But if your husband has an inflammatory connection, which, you know, magnesium does help with inflammation, but it's not the first thing I think about, then his headache won't go away. So it's worth testing to see if your husband's headache is muscular. A lot of the times, headaches can also be dehydration. So maybe your husband needs a good magnesium and a lot of water, and that might answer his headache question. Hopefully that helps you out. Rav, what's going on? It's nice to see you here. I wanted to say hello. So what type of magnesium would be ideal for those with ulcerative colitis? This is a tough one, Rav, because it will cause loose stool. And with ulcerative colitis, you're going to have inflammation. You might have to look at IV to get the magnesium in, and maybe try a malate. I tend to find malate gentler on stomachs. I hope that answers your question. Nice to see you, Rav. Hello. Christine, how do you know how much calcium to take in balancing magnesium? Christine, no one really knows. You can run the best test and it might not still be the same. I mean, there are tests on the market that you could look to see how much calcium magnesium you have. You want to have, I think you want to have a 1-to-1 ratio of calcium and magnesium. There are a lot of foods that you're consuming, Christine, that probably have a lot of calcium in them. So you probably need more magnesium. So I hope that answers your question. Magnesium deficiency and atrial fibrillation. So this question is for, I hope I pronounced this right, Ing or Inge. Magnesium deficiency and atrial fibrillation. Yes, you will, if you Google and you look through some of the research, atrial fibrillation is connected to not only magnesium deficiency, but even magnesium, potassium, and calcium imbalances. So it's possible by increasing your magnesium, you might be able to see an improvement in the atrial fibrillation. Hope that helps you. Selva, what is the best form of magnesium supplement? Do you know 100% pure form of magnesium available to purchase? Tough one. That's a tough one, Selva. The 100% most pure is through food. There are companies that are going to claim you have to process magnesium. There has to be some type of processing that goes on. So it'll be tough to find a natural good source. Food, I gave you a list. Google more lists and figure out which magnesiums are the best for you. Ashley Walsh, magnesium threonate is something I keep hearing about to specifically aid in brain sharpness and anxiety. What makes this formulation different than the others? So I answered this in the thing, but basically they seem to think that threonate, which is an amino acid, is absorbed easier into the body, and then the threonate has an affinity to cross brain. So they think the magnesium gets in there and functions. Hope that answers your question. Mekla, can I give magnesium to my daughter, 16 years old, and how much? Mekla, I'm not going to tell you how much, but yes, you can give your magnesium to your daughter. My girls are 8 and 5, and they get magnesium spoonfuls every morning. So definitely you can use it with your daughter. Take your daughter to a naturopathic doctor and ask them how and how much she needs, and that'll be your answer. Bev Gordon, can magnesium help with muscle cramps? 100%, Bev. Again, talk to a naturopath, talk to a nutritionist, figure out what your needs are, and see if you're muscle cramping. But I've seen muscle cramps connected to magnesium, folic acid, potassium, and even calcium. So you might need more than just magnesium. Hope that answers your question. In recent magazine articles, a woman with diabetes described how she was unable to reverse her diabetes by how she was able to reverse diabetes, taking 4 grams of magnesium daily. Is this taking the amount of magnesium safe? That's Rain. Rain, that's a tough question because everybody's different. 4 to 5 grams of magnesium for some people will be explosive diarrhea, and for some people might be perfectly fine. So it depends. Is it an experiment that I want you to try? It's try at your own risk. Like I said, a lot of these magnesiums can cause loose stool. Listen, folks, it's 8 o'clock. I'm going to spend 5 more minutes and then I'm going to say goodbye. We have so many questions. I apologize. I hope those of you who hung out with me got some of your questions indirectly answered. I'm going to try to take 4 more here and then we're going to call it a night. And I want to eventually say my goodbyes. What is the best type of magnesium to take before you go to bed to sleep? Anyone, we talked about them. I'm going to make this presentation available to you all. Download it, get it. Healthy Planet will have it. Get it, study it, understand it, and then figure out the magnesium that's best for you. I hope that helps you guys. Can I download a movie of the presentation, please? Yes, this will be videotaped. This will be available to all of you on replay, and share it with your friends. Monica, I might be deficient magnesium, but when I try to take it, it gives me a headache. Yes, Monica, I've seen patients that do get a headache from it. I've seen patients that get aggravated and are jittery. It might be the wrong magnesium for you. You may need to explore and find out different ones. Let a professional help you do that. You'll get your answer quicker. Paramedics, what amount of magnesium intake is required for males versus female? Janice, I'd love to give you that answer, but that answer is a little complicated. You can look that up, visit a medical doctor and they'll be happy to, or a naturopath, and they'll be happy to answer that question. Last 2 questions. Jesse, my neurologist suggests to take folic acid, vitamin D every day. He said folic acid will help me with my restless legs. Yes, there's research for that. Is taking 1 folic acid a day enough? No, it's not. You need to take more than that. I'm not going to tell you, Jesse, how much, but you need to take more than that. There's studies and research. Look them up. They'll help you out. The name of the book, please. Gene wants to know the name of the book. The book I showed you guys was called The Adrenal Fatigue Book by Dr. James Wilson. I think you get it online. I'm not putting a plug for the book. It's just one of the books of many that I own. Now, I love to get through all your questions, guys. Honestly, I have close to 100 questions, and I rapidly did 30 of them. So I always have fun to do this. I often tell, Healthy Planet and all these other people, let's go longer, but it's only an hour. So, it's time for me to say goodbye. What I want to show you quickly is, if you want to follow us, there's CamPrev's information at CamPrev on Instagram. Facebook.com is /CamPrev. For those of you who want to know a little bit more about me, you can connect with me on Instagram at Dr. Elias Markou, or on Facebook /Dr. Elias Markou. For those of you who want to know a little bit more about me, get more information, I also have a website, dreliasmarkou.com. I'm giving out there, sign up for the newsletter. You'll get a free guide it's called a 24-hour detox. It'll help you kind of start a plan how to do a good detox in 24 hours. So definitely jump on there. There's some cool resources. I'm going to make this video available through Healthy Planet. I'm going to upload all of my slides to help you guys out. I did my best. I showed up here. I brought all my heart. I shared all my information with you the best I could. I want to thank you all. You being here has made this totally worth it. I hope you guys got one little thing to improve your health, to improve your life, and give back to yourself. Then it'll totally work for you. If you want to learn more about the magnesiums, go to magnesium.ca. Thank you all on behalf of myself, Healthy Planet, CamPrev. We all want to say thank you for spending your 1 hour with us, and I hope this was enjoyable. My name is Dr. Elias Markou. I'm going to say goodbye and keep on learning. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to see you hopefully soon. Bye-bye for now.